Welcome to another episode of ADHD Rewired. This is the show designed to help those of us who have really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. Whether you have ADHD and you want to learn more about it, or you are looking for ways to organize your time, your things, or the many details of life so you can get more done, this show is for you. My name is Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, coach, and consultant. We know that starting can be the hardest part, so let's get started. But before we do, here's this. One of the best things that I do to manage my ADHD is I attend conferences. I go and I learn new strategies that help me and my clients, but I keep going back for the community. Please join me in Orlando, July 24th through the 27th for the ADA conference, the only ADHD conference focused on adults with ADHD. Register at ada.adhdrewired.com. That's adda.adhdrewired.com. Welcome back to another episode of ADHD Rewired. We have a great episode here for you today, but before we start, I want to let you know that listener discretion is advised. I want to read to you an email that I got from a listener that has probably had one of the most profound effects on me, and I've reread a number of times when I'm feeling stuck and I have the passing thought, why am I doing this podcast? This is from James. So, for the first time in my life at age 32, I found myself finally establishing a primary care physician. I had, of course, thought about doing this for a while. My MO would be to just think about it and be satisfied with that. However, one of my less interesting jobs, medical records department, every day I see the gory details of waiting too long. Plus, my girlfriend at the time was really concerned about my health. To be honest, it was probably the girlfriend that did it. I was briefing my new doctor on my health history. I brought up that I had ADHD as a kid. She asked me how it affected me today. I thought that was an odd question because I was always told it was something you grow out of. I said, well, don't know. It helps me be creative and funny. I started to search my brain for other things, but the conversation moved on, and so did my attention. I thought about it a few times in the preceding weeks, but I mostly thought it was funny. In the past, I would joke about being ADHD, but I never took it seriously. I've been a podcast enthusiast since 2008 and have the great fortune of being able to listen to them at my medical records job. By the end of my work week, I usually have gone through all of my faves. The last day of my work is a huge 12-hour work shift with only about 5 hours of real work. Not good. So, I decided to test out some new podcasts and hopefully find a few that interested me. I saw your show on the new and noteworthy section and thought, oh, let's see what's going on with the ADHD kids. It was show number 7 on procrastination. Partway through the show, you said something to the effect of, boredom is extremely uncomfortable, and that this isn't so for, quote, normal people.
It's not?
It's not, I thought. Boredom, for me,
Boredom.
can be almost painful.
Boredom.
When I got home, I Googled symptoms and was blown away. I discovered the fundamental duality of the ADHD brain. Amazing benefits paired with often crippling liabilities. The same dualities was my life. I had the great fortune of leading an incredibly fulfilling life, and an active community member and work on many amazing projects. I'm also a journalist, editor, graphic designer, and poet. I have garnered a fair amount of respect from my peers and, on the surface, seem successful. However, the other side of my life is a complete mess. Divorced, horrible credit, bad health, bad at relationships. The list goes on and on. I am the senior editor of a hip local arts and culture mag, and that is just one nonstop party. One of my biggest problems was alcohol. It was ultimately just self-medicating, I'm sure, but it exacerbated all of my symptoms, especially impulsivity. As a result of the mess of my life, I have been battling severe depression. The narrative my brain created for the mess was my life was that I was a screw-up, that I lacked willpower or character, that I just failed at simple life skills. I was unhappy, had zero self-love or value. I was living an abject squalor in a home that was foreclosed on. I didn't have steady income and was planning on killing myself when the sheriff would finally come to kick me out and change the locks. Last year was particularly bad. I had one drunken suicide attempt. It was actually quite laughable. It was after a night of partying, and I hit a pretty bad low. It was the harshest part of Montana's winter, and I decided to sleep in my car and die of exposure. It didn't work. I woke up sober and cold, fight or flight in full effect. I rushed home and jumped in the shower to raise my core temp back to normal. A few of my closest friends could sense that I was in a bad place, and one hooked me up with a counselor who saw me pro bono. I saw her for a few sessions and got on an antidepressant. I stopped both after a month, but managed to gain a little traction on my mood. I plugged away and read a few self-help books, but without the framework of knowing my ADHD, I didn't accomplish much. I was able to find steady income and a rad place to live with a roommate that I worked on a few projects with. Eventually, I got back with one of my ex-girlfriends. I told her about where I was a year ago, and she was very sad she wasn't there for me. I also told her that I probably wasn't ready for a relationship, but if I was it would be her. My impulsivity got the best of me, and we got back together anyway. Being in the relationship made me happy and boosted my self-value. I was aware that you should never have your value outside of yourself, that it should come from within. But when you don't have any value, it's an easy trap to succumb to. It's an easy trap. She was planning on moving to go to a college that had a program she was interested in. I was going to go with her. It's silly. I would be throwing away all the work, network, and social status I have. For her, just so I can feel happy. She had been wanting to backpack Europe over the summer and booked a cheap flight before telling me. I didn't think much of it because we planned on staying together and moving in when she got back. I asked her to give me till the end of the year to finish up some projects and see if we were compatible to live together. Just after I saw my GP for the first time, a week before my birthday, she broke up with me. I get it now, but it was never going to work. But at the time, I was losing the only thing that made me happy. Not only that, the source of my happiness quickly became a source of pain. I sadly tried to fix the unfixable. Even though I was cautious enough to know what I had gotten myself into, and did reasonably well transitioning back to single life. That is, until a week or so later, while walking home for work. I work nights, so this was a Saturday morning. I saw her car at her ex-boyfriend's house, who lives 2 blocks away from me at the time. I got booze and medicated. This time it didn't help. I felt the worst emotional pain that I can ever remember feeling. I wanted the pain to stop, so I thought, turn back to suicide. I promised a friend that if I ever felt that again, to tell him. I Facebook him. He was out of town and off the grid, so we didn't even get it. But the act of typing the message snapped me out of it. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? A few weeks go by and I keep drinking. The funny thing is, one of the last conversations I had with my ex was her telling me she was concerned about my drinking. I was annoyed by that, and the conversation was cut short by a friend interrupting. I thought about that, and the mess my life was, and I realized the only time I ever thought or attempted suicide was when I was drinking.
I have to stop.
That was it. That's what's wrong with me. I have to stop.
I have to stop.
Or one of these days, I will be successful with suicide. I called the local rehab and was ready to go. My insurance didn't cover it, but I had enough money to pay for it myself. I had worked it out with my job. They were willing but they needed a prior diagnosis of alcoholism. I was in a catch-22. I could get the diagnosis at rehab, or couldn't go unless my job okayed it. Rehab was just an impulsive decision, one I'm glad I didn't take. I talked with another close friend, and he told me that rehab is more of a last case scenario when all else fails. He told me the people I was talking to at the rehab program were essentially salespeople, and they wanted me to be healthy, but also wanted my money. Plus, going away to a magic land where there's no booze is great, but might not help when I get back. He suggested AA. I quit drinking, found a sponsor, and started doing AA. Then, I found out about adult ADHD because of your show. It was one of those once-in-a-lifetime moments. Like reading a great book, or finding the right religion. Reading the symptoms took all the weight off my shoulders. I felt a profound sense of euphoria. In that instant, I looked back at my past as though it was a different person. I immediately made a follow-up with my GP, one I was supposed to have already done. Luckily, I got an appointment a few days after. I asked her about adult ADHD. She prescribed me Dexedrine, and from then on, my life has been completely different. I've only been medicated for about half a month or so, but it has made a huge difference. I have been reading all I can about the subject and working hard to establish all in need in my life to be successful. I have a financial advisor. I'm seeing my counselor again. I'm eating right and exercising. Getting my life together. I even got a CPAP machine for my sleep apnea. I feel amazing. While it would be silly and irrational to say I owe it all to you, I do feel that I found your podcast at just the right time and that it played an important part of my discovery of adult ADHD. I suppose this is how it usually plays out for us. Anyways, thanks. Keep up the good work. James, I get goosebumps every time I read that. Thank you for sharing that with us. I really do hope you continue to do well. And please, let us know. This is a journey. You're gonna have moments. But know these are moments. And you can do this. You have incredible strength. And as you so eloquently said about the duality of your mind, there are challenges that will exist, but look towards the strength. Surround yourself with positive people. And when something isn't working, go to plan B. And if plan B doesn't work, there's 24 more letters. James, there are so many people who I am sure are resonating with your story. Again, thank you for sharing it. I'll be rooting for you. Be well. I want to remind everybody who is listening, when you are in that deep, dark place and the thoughts of suicide cross your mind, seek help. Suicide will always be a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are in a state of crisis, make sure that you know who you can call. And whenever in doubt, you can always call 911 or go to your local emergency room. Suicide is a symptom of depression. And just like James shared with us, it can get better. Find support, find a therapist, locate a local support group. If you are struggling with alcohol or drugs, there are 12-step groups in every community. The power of support can always be more powerful, darkest thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. You can leave comments on the Facebook page or the Facebook group. Just search for ADHD Rewired. Remember, no matter how lonely you feel, you are not alone. James, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, I am here with James Hickman, and after I recorded this episode, I sent it to him, and I wanted to make sure it was okay with him for me to share this, because I wanted to make sure that that was something he was comfortable with, and you did say that you were cool with that, right?
Yeah.
So you shared some pretty personal stuff with us on your journey and discovery of having ADHD, and went through some pretty dark periods. Can you share with us just a little bit about how you're doing now and kind of what you're working on right now and what you're kind of hopeful about?
Yeah. And I have to say that listening to that, it was a kind of a dissonant kind of experience because like rationally, I'm totally in a different place. So it's hard for me to kind of understand that thinking in that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, especially like, cause I bring up like, several times I bring up how I had close friends and they're, and they were helping me out. And rationally, I'm like, well, you had all these close friends. What were you saying? You know what I mean? All these people cared about you. Like, why? But that emotional stuff is still there. You know what I mean? And I don't think I'm far enough away from it. So hearing that, it did resonate with, my emotions. And, some of that stuff is pretty tough to hear. I'm still kind of in that euphoric period where I'm like, yes, it's not my fault. You know what I mean? I'm not a loser or whatever. But that's definitely been tempered a bit because now I'm kind of faced with having to deal with this the rest of my life. And that could be overwhelming if I guess you let it. I realize there'll definitely be a point in my life where that euphoria is totally gone. But so hopefully I'll have, strategies in place to kind of move forward. As far as what I'm working on, I'm more focused on, sobriety. Number one, I got an awesome sponsor. I'm not 100% into like the AA kind of what their system or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I definitely feel the value of being accountable to one person. You know what I mean? For me, the alcoholism, the root is ADHD. And I think the problem is more, about my executive function and stuff like that. And I think one thing that I try to keep mindful of is I'm definitely have a problem with impulsive speech and not realizing the things that I could say can offend people. You know what I mean? And like, that's the one thing that I'm trying to work on, because I don't have problems making friends or keeping friends, but I do have problems like maintaining like frenemies or, just associates, because I don't really suffer fools very well. So if people say something stupid, I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? And so like, I
was going to ask you, so what are some of the examples of the impulsivity that you're, I'm going to cut in there right now, and we are going to make this a 2-part show. When I first contacted James, I just wanted to have a brief update, and well, the ADHD got the best of both of us, and I'm glad that it did, because we had a really wonderful conversation, and I'm going to bring you that conversation in its entirety next week. Registered for the ADA conference? This is the only conference just for us adults with ADHD. Register using my affiliate link, adda.adhdrewired.com. That's adda.adhdrewired.com. Well, ADHD Rewired listeners, you have just listened to another episode of ADHD Rewired. Let other people know what you think and help increase and raise awareness about ADHD, because when you understand it, we can manage it. And when we can manage our challenges, we can focus on our strengths. You can go to my website, ADHDrewired.com, and sign up for my newsletter. Please leave a review on iTunes or Stitcher. It really does help people find this podcast. And this week's tech tip of the week: turn your phone off, even if it's just for 1 hour, and pay attention to the people around you. That's what's really important. We will be back next week with the full interview with James Hickman. If you don't want to miss an episode, don't forget to click subscribe. Also, a quick update regarding the ADHD support and accountability group that I've been speaking about. I have run into a few more technical challenges than I anticipated. So, you have not missed it. It is just taking longer than anticipated. So stay tuned, and as soon as I have more information, I will let you know. I am available for individual online coaching. So you can contact me through my website at ADHDrewired.com and click on coaching, or just email me. All that information is there at my website. This is Eric Tibbers, reminding you that today is the first day of the rest of your life. So what are you going to do with it? Make it count. Until next time.